All the information I have is from LG Go EV. If you like LG Go EV, go support them. They put out a lot of leaks and stuff like that, and I love them. Keep up the good work. Now leak time growth. Anyway, apparently they were looking into the files and they found two Pokemon, which both of them sound surprisingly like Tinkaton and Galarian Rapidash. So, I don't think Galarian Rapidash is a placeholder name, because obviously that makes sense. It's Galarian Rapidash. It's not even remotely in the game. However, the Tinkaton thing might be a placeholder because Tinkaton is a tower defense Pokemon, and it is meant to be a kind of event exclusive thing. But maybe, Pokemon Unite is taking their head out of their ass and using a really good Pokemon as a means of playing. However, their heads are fucking way the fuck up their ass because for some reason they thought an attacker and an all-arounder was a good idea. Now, El Chico didn't specifically say that they're attacker and all-arounder. I just read it and I figured it out on my own. Basic attack, melee, increase range as you evolve. I think that makes sense for Tinkaton because the hammer does get bigger and bigger, and that's kind of cool. The ability is Mold Breaker, and the more damage on shielded Pokemon thing doesn't sound defendery. Defenders usually have abilities that either heal them or keep them tanky. So having more damage on shield Pokemon, that usually means that they're not defender, because defenders don't increase damage. Defenders increase defense. All of them increase defense and or speed. You know, Greedent with the berry thing, that does increase speed. However, it is mostly a defensive Pokemon. You know, defensive abilities is what makes a defender. But if their ability is shifted to damage, I mean, yeah, Goodra has like offensive slime, but the slime usually slows enemies down, which is defensive. So take it with a grain of salt. You know, doing more damage is usually a, you know, attacker thing, an all-arounder thing. But here's what makes it even more solidified. Hammer gets stronger on boosted. Now, here's the problem. Most Pokemon don't rely on boosted attacks. Most Pokemon rely on abilities. But all-arounders are different. They rely on basic attacks for damage. Charizard's basic attacks get stronger on burn. Tyranitar's basic attacks basically become ungodly powerful with piercing battle damage. As all of his moves does, but his basic attacks is what he relies on. Dragonite relies on basic attacks for his Dragon Dance and other moves. Gyarados relies on basic attacks when it uses Dragon Breath. You know, Machamp relies on basic attacks. Scizor relies on basic attacks. Basically, all Pokemon in the all-arounder class rely on basic attacks in some form or way. So having an ability that focuses on a boosted basic attack giving you more damage is rather strange. Now, I know that, you know, some Pokemon have boosted attack-based abilities where the boosted attack does give them a little bit more profit, but to have an ability dedicated to the boosted attack is usually an all-arounder thing. But as you keep reading, if you do get this boosted hit and you boost your hammer, the hammer becomes heated, and thus the next couple of attacks do more damage, and also Rock Smash, Gigaton Hammer, and Smackdown get more damage. The hammer becomes heated, it becomes fiery, it becomes stronger. So that means you're dealing more damage. Defenders don't rely on damage. Defenders' abilities usually rely on defensive capabilities. So that means that this thing is primarily attacking, primarily fighting, primarily brawling. Uh-oh. Stuns and slow effects, that's a defender thing, but also all-arounders can stun and slow. All-arounders have throws, all-arounders have stuns, all-arounders have lowering attacks like lunge and speed boosts like ancient power, which means that this thing is a grade A all-arounder. This thing is all around, you know, it has all the fucking hindrances, it has all the defenses, it has all the fighting capabilities. All you gotta do is brawl, pussy. Now get in there and fight, bitch. Its Unite is what solidifies this whole thing, because not only is the Unite a stun, with a kiss to stun your enemies, you go, mwah, which is what fucking Tinkaton loves to do, is mock its foes and be cute. So it blowing a kiss and then slamming you with a hammer Yeah, that's fucking a Tinkaton thing. That's an all-arounder thing too, where you stun lock the opponent and fuck them up. See, that is what makes all-arounders so fun, is that they have a lot of fuck-you-up moves. A lot of brawly moves. And it makes sense, Tinkaton does brawl. Tinkaton fights with Corviknight all the goddamn time, and it's a fucking fighting machine. I get it. I see it as an all-arounder. But god damn would I like a defender. So I think this is true. I think Tinkaton will come to the game. Because they have the pre-evolution, middle evolution, and evolution. It doesn't make any sense not to add it to the game. And it's not even officially like a fightable Pokemon. So technically speaking, it could just join the game as a fun playable. But I still hate you for it. Why does it have to be all-arounder? We got too many of those. All of them brawl too damn hard. And there's not enough defenders. I'm gonna have to fucking block Snorlax this hoe at some point. But anyway, Rapidash. Oh man, I love Rapidash. Rapidash is fucking awesome. I love Galarian Rapidash. But why the fuck does it have to shoot energy from its horn? That's the one thing out of the whole description that fucks it. Because that one little description of shoot energy from horn as a basic attack basically solidifies this thing as a ranged attacker. There is no way around it. If you have range, you're either an attacker or a defender or supporter. You can't be all-arounder or speedster. Speedsters can have range only if it's a boosted, like Darkrai. Darkrai is one of the weird exceptions because its boosted is a ranged attack, but it's more of an ability ranged attack. So that is really awkward for Darkrai, but also if you look at the other speedsters, none of them have ranged attacks on boosted. None of them. It's mostly melee. So having ranged is a death sentence. You are permanently attacker by that point. But here's where the kicker comes in. Its ability grants it a shield when moving around. Now you're just fucking with me. Because the ability has nothing to do defensively, nothing to do supportively, so it by default becomes an attacker. There's nothing stopping it from, you know, being a speedster. All you have to do is just change it from melee instead of ranged, and you fucked it. You fucked it hard. It could have kicked, it could have swung its horn around like a sword and have, you know, ranged abilities, but no, I had to fuck it. Cool, thanks. I love having a shitty ass attacker in the game. Not like I want a defender. So its ability grants it a shield as it's moving around. The shield basically makes it hindrance proof. I'm gonna assume it's hindrance resistance and not immune to hindrance, because it says immune to hindrance. I don't know if that means unstoppable, because if that means unstoppable, you're kind of fucked. So yeah, it just runs around. It has a ton of shield running around, and it just shoots people as it runs by. It's a hit and run kind of Pokemon, and I appreciate hit and run Pokemon, but I wanted it for a speedster. Why did you pick attacker? Confusion. Boost speed on hit. That's an attacker thing. Slow effect. That's an attacker thing. Attackers love having slow effects. Espeon, Gardevoir, fucking every attacker has some sort of slow. So slow effects are typically an attacker thing, all-arounder thing. Some defenders have slow, but it's very limited and far between. So having slow effects, being ranged, sounds very attackery. So as we scroll down, Smart Strike, you stab an enemy and then you leap away. Hit and run, great. I love this game. It leaps away. It's a dash, but some attackers have dashes like Glaceon, so it's not a speedster. Fairy Wind, it jumps in a designated direction that it's facing. It can be used again to dash again. So you can dash again. I think if you hit a target, yeah, you can dash again, but I don't know if it's like you can dash all the time. But either way, that's fucked up. So not only does this thing have dashes and jumps, but because it's range, it doesn't become speedster. It's so annoying. It feels so much like a speedster. Come on, man. Agility. Increases movement, and if you hit a target, it lasts longer. Now it's just salt in the wound. So you get to fucking increase your speed, run around the opponents, shooting them as you run by. And then you got Dazzling Gleam. If you hit multiple targets, you gain speed. So, speed, boosting, no stuns. There is the Smart Strike shove, but there's no stuns or anything. It's just speed and damage. Sounds like Dragapult. Oh boy. Sounds like fucking Decidueye and a Shadow Sneak speed boosts. Because there's Pokemon with speed boosts. They exist as an attacker. So it's really annoying to see more of them. It's like, I just want defenders and supporters and speedsters, god damn it. Finally, the Unite. You dash forward. The first target you hit gets an arena around them, a little misty terrain, if you will, and that terrain is around them. If Rapidash is still in that terrain, it can have multiple dashes with its Unite, which means you can dash multiple times through the terrain and hit more targets, and I think it depends on how many targets you hit. So if you hit a target, you get to do it again, so you do it multiple times, try to dash as much as you can to avoid damage. Now, if I am correct, if you're dashing, you're super fast, so probably for each dash, leap, and movement speed, you get your shield back, and with that, you're immune to hindrances and you're safe, so you're trying to give yourself a shield for survivability and move around your opponent shooting them. So, I hate this. I hate that this is an all-arounder. I hate both of them. Where's my Tangrowth? I'm mad. However, good notes. Because of Tinkaton joining the game as a playable, that also means that other boss-like Pokemon, such as Dreadnought, Rotom, Registeel, Regieleki, things like that, they have a chance. Because if we get one playable Pokemon that is not normal, that is a Pokemon in a map, then we have a chance to get them as a playable. That includes Avalugg too, which is really nice. That includes other Pokemon as well. But then again, like, Hoopa was technically a boss Pokemon. Zacian was technically a boss Pokemon, and they became playable, so it's like, yeah. I mean, Hoopa was already playable when the Hoopa Unbound came out, but still. Zacian was already playable when the Zacian boss came out, but still, like, that means that boss Pokemon can technically, quote-unquote, be playable. And that means Tinkaton can be playable since it's a tower defense Pokemon. So that would also mean, like, other certain Pokemon can become playable, and if that's the case, then that's good, because, we can finally play as Dreadnought. We can finally play as Avalugg, that'd be kind of fun. And all they had to do is just tweak it to where that Pokemon is playable and obviously can be seen as a playable Pokemon with like a level and a health bar and stuff like that, so people can tell that they're a, player. Galarian Rapidash, on the other hand, I hate this. Why do we get more attackers, man? Stop making attackers. Range doesn't always mean attacker. We can have supporters with range. We can have all, like, the defenders with range. There's one all-arounder with range and one speedster with range. I get it. Boosted speedster makes range. Like, that's fair. But, like, that makes me mad because Darkrai technically has range, but it's in a boosted. It's like, come on. Like, this thing just needs to have the boosted range thing going for it, and then it can technically be a speedster. Technically, because speedsters do rely on dashes, and this thing doesn't have dashes, it just has movement speed increases, but still. And then Tinkaton, all it needs to do is just get rid of the hammer getting stronger. Maybe the hammer getting stronger actually boosts defense, not damage, and maybe doing more damage to shield Pokemon as a defender is fine, because it helps you block off, shield Pokemon and defend your team, and then the hammer can deal more damage to shield Pokemon. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe boosteds on shield to give you more damage, and then you can become more tanky. That'd be nice. But after reading all this, I can clarify. All-arounder right here. Clearly an all-arounder needs to be a defender. Clearly an attacker needs to be a speedster. That's all I gotta say.